morning, so if we could all stand for one of our staff members, Linda Day, who was taken from her family and friends, so if we could just take a moment of silence for her family and friends. Okay, with that, we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning, everybody.
Do we have any additions or deletions?
Chair, one addition to the agenda this morning, 3.1, new employee introduction for HHS.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for that addition.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? Not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we're gonna put the new employee introduction in at this time. Matt, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd invite Amy and Heather to come forward, please.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Amy Walpole, Financial Assistant Supervisor. This is Heather Ito. She is my newest addition here to Morrison County. So she'll be helping out my team, making my team now full with 9 people. We grabbed her from Todd County with about a year of Mets experience, so we're hoping she's able to bring some of that over to our team.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Morrison County.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, so now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Gentlemen, is there anything you'd like to have removed before we have a motion on this, and this will be a roll call vote?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
All right, hearing none, there's nothing to be removed. I have a motion from Commissioner Jalecki. I got a second. And we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine.
Aye.
Casper. Aye. Alinsky.
Aye.
Myself as an aye, motion carried. Health and Human Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Nathan.
Last board meeting on the 4th, I said I would come back for some further discussion on our liquor license processes. This is a newer area to me too, so I dug into it a little bit the last couple weeks. And I will give you a short overview, I guess, of how the process happens here in Morrison County. So here at Health and Human Services and at the county level, we're only responsible for liquor licenses outside of cities. And so those are ones kind of out and about in the community outside of city limits. So the cities that do manage their own liquor licenses are as follows. Flemsburg, Randall, Motley, Piers, Buckman, Genoa, Little Falls, Royalton, Swansville, Upsala, and Sobieski. So anything that happens within those city limits, their city council manages that and does the liquor license or 2 a.m. liquor license themselves. So the other ones that we manage, the process starts usually in March with our sanitarians reviewing the current list of liquor licenses and establishments with a letter going out to them mid-March that it's time to renew. In that letter has a bunch of paperwork information they need to fill out as far as insurance, backgrounding check, things of that nature, with the expectation that those are back to us by May. Then from there, some of the paperwork goes to the sheriff's office for backgrounding and making sure there's no current litigation, and then to attorney's office for them to review and sign off on as well. With the goal that most of these go to that first board meeting in June. We occasionally have some slow applications to come in, which usually come the second board meeting of June. Liquor licenses work on a fiscal calendar year, so they are up June 30th, start July 1st for renewals. And really, the only nuance difference between a brand-new liquor license and a renewal is the fact that on a new liquor license, the state can still decide that they don't want to issue or do an on-site review of that facility or establishment. As far as 2 AM liquor licenses, because that was the discussion from the last board meeting, I'm aware of 4 within Morrison County, 3 of which we oversee or manage those licenses. That would be the 12 Mile Tavern in Swanville. Where's my... The Main Gate Bar and Grill in Little Falls, and the Grub and Pub in Foley. The 4th one resides right in the city of Little Falls and is managed by them. That is the Rustic Saloon. Previously, there was another 4, but at this point, they've either expired or chosen to not renew their 2 AM liquor license across Morrison County. So, and I do have where those were located if that would be of interest of you.
I'd be curious, Mr. Chair.
So,
If we'd let him go ahead and then we'll
Please.
move to your question.
well, I can jump right into that. So, at one point, there was 3 within Little Falls. At this point, it's just the 1, so the Rustic Saloon. The other 2 have, I think, 1 burned, is my understanding, and the other 1 closed. There used to be 1 in Upsala, and there used to be 1 in Sobieski that were open until 2. But at this point, those have closed or not continued that license. What questions do you have for me on the process? I can tell you there's 5 different kinds of liquor licenses. I guess I didn't cover that. So there's a temporary 1 to 4 day license. There's the 3-2 beer application. There's display and consumption license, which is kind of like a setup bar. I'm assuming that's more of like a wedding type situation. Intoxicating liquors, that's your typical bar on-off sale type one. And then there's also a wine with strong beer applications. Depending, this isn't super great quality, but I can get this to you as well. Depending on what license, there's different requirements as far as what forms, who sees it, whether it be sheriff or attorney, or some of them, like the Sunday liquor license, is just the Health and Human Services, and then board approval for those. So depending on the license type, there's a variation of who all sees it here at the county level. So I would look to you all for questions on the process and things on your mind since last board meeting.
Commissioner Casper, you had a question.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I guess my question would be, did you mention Buckman was one of the ones that previously had? Or they're under our jurisdiction, or are they under city jurisdiction?
The city of Buckman does their own liquor licenses
Okay.
and 2 AM, and I don't think I had them on my list of previous ones.
Okay, I was just curious because we were somewhat involved when Sevs wasn't anteing up their liquor license here like a year ago.
Yep, I do
Okay.
recall that, but, no, we do not manage theirs, and I don't have them down as one of my previous 2 AM ones, and so unless it was prior to the time they had them posted online, then I'm not aware.
Very good. Mr. Chair, just one more statement. Yeah, I was gonna say that just for the record, and I talked to you, Randy, and I talked to you, Nate, and I don't believe I talked to Matt about this, but I did talk with David Harar, who is going for that 2 AM license, and he's still considering, he thinks he will move forward with it. And I don't think we have reason to deny him when we already have 3 of them in our area. So that's where that stands. He told me he'd let me know if he changed his mind. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more discussion on that?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jazinski.
I have no questions whatsoever when it comes time for the liquor end of it. I think that's well vetted through the sheriff's office, through Health and Human Services, through the county board. I have a question when it comes time for food service in those liquor establishments. At the very start of your start here, Nate, you see, you use the term sanitarian, and I'm clear, I understand. So does our sanitarians actually go on site and look at the kitchens in these bars? More and more and more, as we know, we're serving food. And what, if you can explain the steps on that?
Yeah, we have two registered sanitarians at Health and Human Services. They do go out on a regular basis to look at the kitchens, the cleanliness, and make sure they're up to code, and what they need to be. We also do temporary food permits, so Freedom Fest, Mud Fest, those sort of things. When those vendor trucks are out there, we do randomly stop in and check and make sure they're preparing food safely and properly as well. As well as if we get any complaints from our local food establishments, we also do go check those out as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Nate, if you could, just for the record, the name of the establishment, the prior and the present, are they the same names again, or I can't remember?
I did not prepare for that question.
Okay.
My understanding, didn't change names, I don't
And the
think.
location of the liquor store is?
As far
Or
as,
just
are we
that-
referencing the cave specifically?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that did not change locations.
And where is the cave anyway? I don't even know.
Harding.
Harding.
It's actually, Mr. Chair, it's probably about 10 miles east of Lastrip on 27,
Okay.
right at that main intersection of Con Road 8 and 27.
I'm aware of that. Okay, so, and again, just for this discussion, the reason it was pulled 2 weeks ago, I believe, because it was part of the consent agenda, because of the fact that there's a new owner, and there's another license to have a 2 o'clock, and that wasn't all combined in that, so that's why this discussion came up. Because, again, I was in the dark, like, okay, why was it? And, I don't believe the sheriff, again, if you want to comment, had a chance to vet this one, so otherwise, again, we have them in the county, and I don't see reason either why we should not, approve this. So we have the opportunity, Matt, to put this on our, explain to me, Matt.
Mr. Chair, so Nate's explanation of the process, thank you, Nate. Now, if the board is ready to take action on the item that was tabled 2 weeks ago, and that was the optional 2 AM liquor license submitted by Mr. Hara for the Cave Bar and Grill, the board can action that by making a motion to take from the table. And then if that motion passes, then the item can be then considered for action. So you can do that now if the board so sees fit.
Gentlemen, I need a motion.
Yeah, I'd make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I need a second. Any more discussion? Not those in.
Mr. Chair, just real quick, I was just going to say that with the owner, I had discussions with him that as far as for our sheriff's department, that gives them added liability to chase. I know back when I was a drinking man, chasing from Hillman over to that bar or from Lastrop, it puts added load on our guys. There's an added liability for this bar owner because these guys, if they behave like I used to, I know they'd like to last call for alcohol. So those were all brought forward, but at this time, I don't think he's going to relinquish. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
And to follow up with that, the 2 AM versus the 1 AM, we're not voting on bringing that to. Exactly. We're just going to as a vote. So,
The current motion is to take from the table.
yeah, take it from the table and then we'll vote on it. So that's, are we okay with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so we bring before the board from the table the application for an optional 2 AM liquor license for the Cave Bar and Grill, Hillman, Minnesota, 37051 Highway 27, from Mr. Herrera. And this action was considered 2 weeks ago and was tabled, and we bring it forward now for your determination.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
I'd make a motion.
I need a second.
Second.
I got a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
I'm kind of curious as to what optional means.
Oh, Yeah, and Mr. Chair, so, and Nate can pile on, they don't have to, just as Nate explained, not every bar stays open till 2 AM. If you want to stay open till 2 AM, well, that costs you an additional $200 in this process. And that's why it's optional. It's not mandated, and that's their ask, is to stay open longer. And then just for my clarification, was the motion to approve the optional 2 AM? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
So if this is approved, it's a 2 AM closing. It's not an option after that.
That's right. This was an optional license. It's,
Yep.
that's right. But after that, they have the authority to stay open until 2.
But if
They can close at 10 if they want to, I get that. But if this motion is approved, it says that they can stay open till 2.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I
This will
just
be
wanted
a
to hear.
roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just real quick. The 2 AM is part of the normal renewal process, so it would become before the board again next June. And if there was issues or problems at that point, you could choose not to approve at 2 AM at that point as well, so.
And again, the owner has the option next year, well, you know what, I don't want to renew this, so they can just use the 1 o'clock and that sort. Gentlemen, any more discussion? Again, this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire. Aye. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Myself is aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Nate, for that
Thanks,
update.
Nate.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Sheriff's report.
Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Sheriff.
So I got two sergeants with me. My plan, if it's okay, is to kind of get through my monthly report. And then I just want to give you guys an update on how our investigations are going. And I thought we would do a short presentation on our drones. We have 4 drones in a drone program here in Morrison County. And we plan on getting out at the Morrison County Fair and doing a drone presentation for the public as well. So we want to make sure that we hit you guys first, so. So yeah, I'll start. First off, thanks for the moment of silence, Mr. Chair, for Linda Day. It's, yeah, we're a tight-knit agency and government center, and it affects all of us, so we do appreciate that. So this will be the month of May. Just to start off with our photos on the top, we had our chaplaincy fundraiser. We raised $6,380. And I think we had an all-time high, 76 golfers that attended at Eagles Landing, so. As you know, or may know, the chaplaincy is a 501c3, not-for-profit organization, so 1/3 of his salary comes from the county. The other 2/3 is all fundraising and help and support from churches and individuals and different community and civic organizations. The bottom picture is our annual sandbox fill for 2024. We filled 31 boxes with sand. We took in 168 pounds of food that was donated for the food shelf. And I think we brought in $119 of cash for the food shelf as well. So it's a great program. It's good PR. Morrison County Record, Little Falls Radio, Knife River, and of course, our very own Public Works help out by donating a truck to us, and the rest is doing advertising. Of course, Knife River supplies us with the sand, so touches a lot of people, and it's all positive, so that's good. Next, you'll just see our drug investigations. We're still primarily seeing methamphetamine and heroin, which I'll disclose and talk a little bit more at the end of this report. Our training, you'll see that we had 3 officers attend emergency vehicle operations and pit refresher. That's at the Minnesota Highway Safety Center, put on by St. Cloud State University, right across the prison on Highway 10. I believe that's a 5-year requirement, but we're trying to get our guys into that training every 3 years, just because it's a skill that we don't want to lose, and of course, we're always driving in emergency mode, so we feel it's good to do a 3-year rotation on that. And then you'll see 12 officers attended SWAT training. We brought in a company from, where were they from? Oklahoma. They got the credentials and they're instructors, and they worked 2 days training at the Eastern Morrison County Sportsman's Club with our staff. And they did vehicle extractions and just bringing a lot of different knowledge and tools to our guys. So that was good. And if we move forward to the criminal complaints, you'll notice we had 87 for the month of May. Starting clockwise, you'll see at the 12 o'clock position, 1 o'clock, you'll see the assaults in the blue pie chart. We had 10 assaults, which included 7 domestics, 3 fights. If we move down to the 6 o'clock position, property damage, we had 9 property damages, which include damaged fields. We had a couple unsecured loads where things were falling off a trailer and caused vehicle damage. And then we had some damaged mailboxes. And then if you go to the 9 o'clock position, the theft in the pink, we had 21. We had, again, we had a majority of those were gas drive-offs, but then we had theft by swindle, theft from a vehicle, identity theft, theft from a parking lot, and then some financial exploitation, which is taking money or property without permission. Sometimes it's using someone's credit card without permission as well, so things of that nature. Our traffic complaints, we had 243 for the month of May. You'll see the majority was verbal warnings in the bottom. We had 188. In the purple, we had 15 written warnings. And then you'll see we had 12 speeding tickets, that 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock position. So that was the majority of our traffic citations. If we go to a 2-year comparison, you'll notice that our total complaints have gone down, criminal complaints have gone down, and non-criminal complaints have gone down. So I kind of wanted to tap into that and figure out why. And overall, our criminal complaints, we just had less of those, but then, of course, we had less traffic stops as well, which affects our total complaints. Sometimes that has to do with the weather, sometimes it has to do with the events going on. If there's a major event going on and it's cooler, there's gonna be less stops as well. So a lot of it is weather dependent. And of course, the difference between criminal and non-criminal, criminal could be sufficient evidence where we utilize that to file charges and or arrest. And non-criminal could be anything that doesn't constitute criminal behavior. It could be a noise complaint, a civil dispute. It could be our deputies getting dispatched to like a vehicle unlock, things of that nature. It could be a welfare check, etc. If we move on to our jail, you'll notice Morrison County averaged 27 inmates for the month of May. Of course, we got our Beltrami contracts, we brought in 19 inmates, and then the total with Morrison County and Outta County, we averaged 47. On the next slide, just highlight our Outta County inmates at 45. The revenue brought in was $35,120. I did check to see where we're at for 2024 from January through the month of May, and we're at $184,325. And then just our drug complaints, I always talk to our drug guys and I say where we're at, how things going. They did note that some of our local people are in prison and they're gonna be getting out soon. So they think things may, the tide might increase as far as our activity. They are doing a lot of follow-up on existing calls, which is surveillance and other things of that nature, which means you won't see the numbers, but obviously they're still busy. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. With that, I'll open it up for any questions on the report.
Gentlemen, any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Blaine?
good morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
And our sergeants with us too, very good. Sheriff, I have 2 questions for you this morning. Number one, refresh my memory or educate me. Is it legal to operate or drive a ATV or a UTV on a state highway in Minnesota?
So Commissioner, yeah, there's like class 1 and then there's class 2. Class 1 would be like your 4-wheelers. Class 2 would be like your side-by-sides. So a class 2, you're only allowed to cross a highway. With a class 1, you're allowed to be in the ditch, but you can't be on the highway or any part of the road right away, if that makes sense.
Yep, makes perfect sense. I wanted to make sure
And,
I was clear on that.
yeah, and now that you brought that up, I think I'll kind of talk about it. We had a department meeting, what day was that? Thursday, or was it Wednesday? It was Wednesday, and we brought in the DNR because we know that it's a problem, not only our county, but multiple counties, but you have a lot of people that are funneling this way and using all of our recreational areas. And so we wanted to make sure we're on the same page because it gets very confusing. So the DNR came and they did a 2-hour course for us. And our intent and our plan moving forward is to do extra patrol. We do have a side-by-side Class 2 ATV. And we're gonna work with and collaborate with the DNR and do extra enforcement, i.e. education, because it is getting to be a problem and we're seeing too many serious accidents and fatalities here locally and all over Minnesota. So, good point.
So, and that kind of leads to my second question was, I'll bend this to probably where I shouldn't, but I'm gonna do it anyway and say almost to the ridiculous level of the amount of reported injury accidents involving UTVs and ATVs on a weekly basis. And not just necessarily in Morrison County, but in this region, I'll say in this central Minnesota area, there isn't a week that has gone by, I would venture to bet that there isn't a week that has gone by since the first week of April that we haven't had a serious reported accident with a UTV or ATV involved on a roadway. And for me, just in the past week, just the flagrancy of people and young people utilizing ATVs and UTVs on a state highway like they own it. And I look at this not so much in any sense or light other than public safety. And I keep running into people who keep asking me the same question: when will something be addressed about this issue when we have automobiles that operate on the road and you have to have, we have seatbelt laws for drivers and passengers in every automobile, in the state and the country to provide for public safety. And you have vehicles now with manufacturers have to have airbags in all these vehicles to provide for public safety. Yet we allow, or not allow, but we have people operating recreational vehicles on state highways and or, out in my area, regularly driving up and down county roads too. And maybe we have different law for allowing UTVs or ATVs on a county highway than a state highway, but we're not seeing that use that we used to see, where you'd see farmers and ranchers using an ATV and they may cross a county road and use that to check fields or cattle or their business or things like that. Now we got people racing, UTVs up and down county roads. And then we get to listen to the radio or read in the paper about people suffering significant injuries and or accidents involving vehicles on the road. So my initial question was, do you have concern about this use, you and your office out there? And obviously, it must be rising to a level of concern for you and your officers if you've taken that action, meeting with the DNR. But I think, you know, I think it helps, it certainly helps me, hopefully it'll help the rest of the board in gaining that understanding out there about some of this activity. And you know, I see it within the city of Little Falls. I realize they have their own, rules and jurisdiction there, but it is concerning when we have significant accidents consistently on the roadways with these vehicles. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so a part of that presentation, Commissioner, from the DNR is just showing us statistics throughout the years of the registration of ATVs and how it's just skyrocketed. And guess where everyone's coming? Morrison County, Crow Wing County, all these rural areas where there's sometimes designated trails and/or just rural areas to get out and about. So that's an issue, and they showed the overwhelming numbers, and I apologize, I don't have those in my head, but what was it?
450,000
Yeah,
ATVs.
that were registered, and that's why we're seeing so more and so much of this. But yeah, you're right, Commissioner. Does it bother us? Yes. That's why we met with our DNR, and we're gonna work collaborative with them. But then again, the issue is extra patrol. Where do I get these guys? You know, it's gonna be mandatory at some point. If I can get people to sign up, that's great, but otherwise it's gonna be mandatory overtime. And we have issues just trying to get those extra shifts when we have to cover the entire county with our road patrol deputies as well. So that's something we're gonna navigate through, and we're gonna do our best, but outside of me coming to you guys and saying, hey, I need a full-time designated person, that's certainly something I can look at as well. But I think we want to try this first, where we can try and fill shifts with the staff that we currently have and do our best to educate and get out and be visible.
And for defense for you guys, I mean, it's not like having a car on the road versus ATV. An ATV can go off and bye-bye.
Correct.
And you're sitting in a patrol car, well, what am I gonna do, watch it go through the cornfield or whatever? It's a lot more difficult, I know, for you guys to patrol that. And they're smaller, and again, I don't know if you need a probable cause, I mean, how many people have licenses, no licenses? It's a challenge, it's no different than the golf carts. I mean, there's another one that you have in the cities, and people are out and about with golf carts, and yeah, you guys, your plates are full, there's no question. How many staff members do you throw at this year? I'm assuming the ATVs are a little bit more seasonal in the summer, spring, and fall than in the winter time. You're not gonna see them so much about, but yeah, I mean, you can do what you can do on those. So, any more else discussion on that, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Drunski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff, I don't mean to put you on the spot because I don't expect you to know every traffic law like the two sergeants do. And nor am I expecting
why I
two
brought 'em.
sergeants to know every traffic law there is. But for the sake of argument, let's put a situation together. A licensed adult person driving a four-wheeler, as we know a four-wheeler, or driving a side-by-side, couldn't care less. That's what they're driving. And they are on a state highway. You just got done telling me you can't be on a state highway. You can cross a state highway, but you can't be driving on a state highway. You can't be driving on the shoulder of a state highway. You gotta be in the ditch. That's what I heard you say.
With a Class 1. Class 2, you can't be in the ditch at all, you can only cross the highway.
Yep.
Yep.
So now, we're gonna go to a county road.
Okay.
And in fact, let's make sure that we're being upfront about it. A paved county road, the same adult licensed driver. We're not talking about a 7-year-old, we're not talking about a 12-year-old. We're talking about a licensed driver. They can or cannot be on the road surface.
So the Class 1 is supposed to utilize the ditch again, off the road right away. However, you know, if you run into a culvert or a swampy area, you know, they're allowed to come up on the shoulder to gain access and go around. Class 2, i.e. the side-by-sides, are supposed to be on the shoulder of the roadway. However, we know that some shoulders aren't as wide as others, So sometimes you're gonna get over as far as you can without putting yourself or your passengers in danger. You're gonna be to the extreme right-hand side, which means you gotta be smart about it. If a vehicle's coming, right, you're gonna get over as far as you can, and sometimes you might have to make a complete stop, because you shouldn't be in the road right away. You shouldn't be in the traffic lane.
Okay.
But yeah, we see that time to time, where even with the Class 2, they're taking their own lane, if you will, and they're driving like a normal motor vehicle. And you're not supposed to be doing that. It's supposed to be the far extreme right-hand side.
And again, because our friends from the print media are here today, and everybody watching this, what about now that we moved on to, however we got there, we're on a township road? What's the difference on a township road?
So the township road, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is that you can have an ATV on the gravel township road. You can have it, again, you want to stay to the far right, and Class 2, it's the same thing. It's legal on the road right away on the township road.
Sheriff, thank you. Sergeants, thank you. You know, you got your hands full, and there's not a question about that, but appreciate that. Thank you.
Gentlemen, any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just say that the only other question I have with this would be, when you have that staggering amount of new ATVs, UTVs registered in a year, and I'm not advocating, Sheriff, for you to have to designate so much more of your staff time to this or whatever, but also makes me have to question, do we have adequate education out there for those people who are buying and operating these vehicles? You know, does the public understand what the law is? And I'm not looking to try and give offenders a pass on that, saying, well, I didn't know, you know. No, we're going to hold you to a level of accountability that if you're going to operate one of these, you will know what the law, you will know what the laws are.
Yeah.
No different than if you're operating a car or a truck or a cement truck, I don't care. You know what the laws are. And so it makes me wonder if one of the components of this issue may be education or lack thereof, or a better amount for those operators and owners.
If I can, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So I know locally, I've been involved personally, and some of our deputies and officers, where when they do like ATV safety and/or snowmobile safety, they always have someone from the DNR present, and they go through that manual page by page. And then they'll want like the sheriff's office perspective. What are we seeing? What are some things we should highlight for safety purposes, which we go into detail about. But I know some agencies, i.e. law enforcement, are starting to take a lot of this training on themselves. And that way, you can kind of navigate and push through the message that you want. And of course, that's something we're looking at, and we're not looking at stepping on anybody's toes, but just being another, just having something else out there where it's another alternative, where people can utilize us as a resource if needed. But again, I got to look into that to see what does that mean, how much staff time, and can we even navigate and figure that out, so.
Appreciate the dialogue, Sheriff.
And to be on your side again, I just purchased a new ATV. It's lit up like a Christmas tree with all the warnings and this and that. So education is there, it's just that you, and we all know that, it's those few that make it bad for everybody else. And that's what you do. You keep changing the laws just for that one over there. I call them idiots, so that's what they are, but that's the world and the area we live in. So again, we appreciate that.
My final statement,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, is I learned from Tom Gonzala, a judge who's since passed, but
I visited him a couple
I
times.
used to be a courtroom bailiff, and I heard him tell multiple people, ignorance of the law is not a defense.
Right, yep.
So everybody should know, and if they don't know, they need to research and figure it out ahead of time. So, thank you.
And you have something else for us, Sheriff?
Yeah, so I got Sergeant Dan Rushlow, Sergeant John DeCock. They're two of our 4 drone operators. And I thought it would be good just to give a little presentation on our drones, what we have out there, and just a little short presentation on the variety of reasons we have it and what the drones do for us. And then I was gonna transition after that and just get an update on our investigations that we're dealing with, how complex they are, time-consuming, and because of the newer technology out there. But with that, I'll turn it over to these guys.
Thank you for having us. Drones been in the news a lot lately, so we thought it'd be best if you guys kind of got a slightly in-depth discussion on kind of what we do and how we operate them. This PowerPoint is set up for search and rescue training for fire departments, so it skips around a little bit, but you'll get the gist of it. Already had introductions. We have 4 licensed pilots. Dan is one of them, investigator Doug Rexted, and then a deputy that works for us is also a licensed pilot. We have 3 aircraft that we fly typically. We have a 4th one that's starting to get obsolete, so we use that for training mainly. The last couple years that I know about, we've averaged 30 to 50 flights a year. Again, it depends on a lot of factors. We try to train monthly with our schedules. It doesn't always happen monthly, but we try. And we'll talk about drones as force multipliers multiple times here, but that's what it does for us. They're fairly expensive pieces of equipment, but when you consider the manpower it would take for one person with one drone to do, you'll see quickly that it pays for itself. And then generally we operate in Class G airspace, which is basic open airspace. 0 to 400 feet is our limit, with the exceptions obviously around Camp Ripley. They have some very serious borders that we don't go into, and then obviously around the airport too. Definitions and acronyms, you guys don't need to know a lot of these. I kept this in here because the first one, UAS, so it's unmanned aerial system. That's what we call it. That's what pretty much every agency calls it. So if you see UAS or UAV, that's a drone. The rest of the stuff is mainly for our training stuff. These are our aircraft. The top left is the older one. That's the Inspire one. That's the one we use for training. The top right is our Mavic 2 Pro. That's the one that Dan operates. It's a little bit smaller. It's the smaller of the 2 ones over here. Super capable. You'll see it's got the accessories on top that we'll talk about. And then the bottom one is the DJI M30T. And we have 2 of those. Those are kind of the flagship drones, and they're super nice. So the Mavic 2 Pro, the one that Dan flies, kind of with all of them now, they got quick deployment. The arms fold out. There's nothing to put together. You can have it in the air within a minute or 2. It's got a dual camera. That's what makes them expensive. It's got the regular camera, and then it's got thermal capabilities. The thermal capabilities are what makes them expensive, because they pack it into a very small package, obviously, if it's going to be on a drone. So we have accessories that we can mount on them, one of them being a speaker, so we can actually talk through our controller, through the drone, miles away to people. So if, a situation where there's a lost kid or something, saying, hey, we see you, we're coming to get you, just stay where you're at, you're okay. Or if it's a criminal, we see you, we know where you're at, we're coming to get you.
Doesn't come with a chain.
Ready or not.
Yeah. So the Mavic has a self-heating battery, so it works in colder temperatures. The one problem with it is it's not IP rated, so it's not rated for weather. That's kind of one downfall. Up to 5-mile range. Generally, we want to be line of sight. On 31 minutes, that's optimal battery time. I'm guessing we probably get closer to 18 to 20 minutes, just based on things. But we have 3 batteries, so usually we try to keep an hour's worth of batteries. Top speed on this one's about 45 miles an hour. And all of them have what's called air sense, so basically it tells us when there's actual manned aircraft in the air close to us, and then it'll show them on a map so we can avoid them. The Matrice, almost all the same thing, it's just bigger, better, faster, everything's better about it. All directional advanced obstacle avoidance, so basically if I'm flying into a tree and I don't realize it, it'll stop by itself, it won't run into it. This one does have the ingress protection, so the IP rating, so it can fly in rain and snow and wind, and 41 minutes of battery life, so this one does, it's pretty accurate. This one gets in the high 30s for battery life. Again, it has an optional speaker, which we have, and a spotlight. Doug Rexed flies the one that's got the speaker. It does have payload capabilities, so we can actually drop things, life jackets, phones, you name it, depending on the situation. This one has some newer features, so it obviously still has the thermal imaging, has a laser rangefinder, which tells us distance, and also has tracking, so it can autonomously track vehicles or people, so the operator doesn't have to do that manually. It just takes kind of one things off of your plate when you're trying to fly. Top speed's about 50. All right, so primary uses, this is a video. It's kind of a short video, but I'll try to explain it here as we go. So this is a search for a missing person. We're actually assisting Todd County on this one, but so on the right, obviously, is your regular camera. On the left is the thermal camera. And right off the bat, white is hot, so you can see, it's kind of a small image, but you can see that deer stand shows up kind of hot on the thermal image. That's because it's in the sun. So that's kind of one of the factors we have to look at, But you'll see people as it goes along here. I'll try to. It will play now. There we go. So, as you can see, I don't know if that's a person that was a deputy, actually, because in the air, especially from that high, you have no idea what you're looking at until you zoom in. So you can see actually two people in that, one there and one there. And even in the daylight, that's where we use that thermal. It would take forever to, and you look at that picture and you don't see anything on the regular picture, but the thermal, it pops. Here, gotta get back to my screen here. All right, so this is just training I was doing. It's by my house. Obviously, this is a cornfield. It's not a super huge cornfield, but you can imagine the manpower it would take to search this cornfield if you were looking for somebody. Again, it's not big, but I would venture to say it's going to take 6 to 8 guys to search it thoroughly enough to say that there's not a person in there. And, I don't know, half hour to an hour, I suppose, where I flew up in the air and within 10 seconds I see, so that little white dot right there is what we're going to focus on.
It's gotta be right in here someplace.
You can't see it at all.
Can you see it at all or no on your screen though?
Well, we can see the dot, we can't
Okay.
see anything in the cornfield yet. I can't. Oh,
Oh,
there,
there it
it's a
is.
deer. I'll be darned.
Can't believe how clear that thing is, that camera.
The camera on this thing is incredible. It's got a 200 times zoom.
Better than the military's.
So completely unrelated, the sheriff requested the drone in the first couple weeks in November, so I'm not sure why. But
If you need the house. Training.
I think it's illegal to use these for deer hunting.
it absolutely is. Even if somebody shoots a deer and say, hey, can you go find it for me, that's illegal in Minnesota as well.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So that would be a good example of a person will show up much like a deer on the thermal camera. And again, force multiplier, because it would take a long time. All right, so this image, I'll give you kind of a heads up. This is a small creek bottom. I'll run through here. So we were looking for a stolen piece of machinery. We thought it was on this property. We had consent from the owner. The owner didn't steal it. But he had this property, and we believe that there was some stolen machinery. I personally searched this property on foot. I'm a little upset. So I flew it with the drone, and obviously you don't see much in this picture, but when we turn it over to thermal, you can pretty clearly see that there's a skid loader down at the bottom of this creek. And I'm telling you, you could not see it from the field up there. It was hidden very, very well.
Could you go back to the original
Yep.
one? I just wanna see that. Look.
That's the same exact picture at the same exact time. It took 2 photos simultaneously.
And you missed that on your own.
Yeah.
Well, I was the investigator. I think I can.
God.
Yeah, so here's the 2 photos side by side.
So the sun is warming that in.
Yeah, it was just enough where it warmed it up. And so another primary use is accident documentation. This is not our scene, it's just a stock photo I pulled offline. It wouldn't be a very good example of doing it, because generally you want to be straight above, especially if you're going to do measurements at a later date, which we can do. As far as distances and skid marks and stuff like that. So we use it a lot for that. Surveillance, somewhat. We don't use it a lot for that. If we do surveillance on a person or a house, generally we're going to need a search warrant to do that. And we have done that before, but generally you're going to need a search warrant. Disaster monitoring, so obviously floods, tornadoes. We're actually talking about bringing it up over by Upsala. There was a possible touchdown here the other day with a tornado that nobody can seem to find, but somebody saw it hit the ground, so we might bring the drone out and see if we can see where it came down. Fire scene, this is Swanville, I think. They got yellow trucks, Swanville or Upsala. Yeah. So this is a relatively small fire, but you can imagine a large swamp on fire where the fire chief or chiefs might want to look at it and say, hey, we need to get somebody over on the east side or the west side that's starting to run towards a house or something. We use it quite a bit for that as well.
Is that a field burning?
Yeah, tractor started it. Just some pictures, obviously the dam here in town, and then Blanchard.
You take it fishing too, get real close to the water.
Some frequently asked questions, 400 feet, we can deviate that in certain circumstances. Fly at night, have we crashed one? Yes. Do we have insurance on them? Yes. It's not us, but that's kind of an example of how things go bad. Known issues, they're not standalone options. We still need people on the ground generally, especially in a search and rescue type scenario. Typically, it's going to be your deputies and fire department guys, and batteries, electronics can fail. I mean, they're like computers, so obviously computers can fail. In the summer, heavy tree coverage, you can't see through things generally, so if it's a heavy tree coverage, you won't be able to see past it. And then near body temperatures, so if you're searching for a person and it's 100 degrees outside, everything's going to be about the same temperature as a human body, so it kind of flashes out. False signals, we talked about that. More for the fire department. And then this one thing I wanted to talk about here at the end is the Ethan House case. I don't know if you guys remember, Sherburne County in 2019, he went missing with his dog. 600 volunteers showed up to search for him. They were searching and searching for 10 hours. They actually searched this field multiple times, and a photographer that was using a similar drone to what we have, actually spotted him in the field that they had searched, and called in people to go find him, so, he was in the field, or he's alone for 10 hours, you know, if he would've spent the night there, I don't know what would've happened, but, again, some of the stuff is very expensive, but, you know, if you have one case like that, it's well worth it, everything is well worth it. Any questions?
The question I have, when your drone can go up to 5 miles, if I'm searching for a criminal or a human being or somebody that's, do you have to get permission from every landowner as you're going that way?
No.
Or you can just come on and, you know, like you said, you needed permission for this gentleman to search his land.
So if we're collecting evidence, generally, we would need permission or consent or a warrant, if we're not searching for evidence. So if it's somebody that ran from us on a traffic stop, and it's not their house, not their fields, generally it's open public space, you're fine. We operate a little bit differently than the public on drones. The public can do much more things easily with drones than we can. So we get this a lot with drones is, you know, somebody calls and say, hey, there's a drone flying around my house, I don't want it to be. Not a lot we can do about it. It's open airspace. They can do whatever. They can fly and go within 2 inches of your grass and fly around your property and leave, and that's not against the law. I have a feeling that's gonna change at some point here with the amount of drones and
So you can't
people
quail
complaining.
hunt with drones that are out there if there's one in your property?
You're not supposed to, no.
Not legally.
No.
Commissioner Lemire?
Were you done?
Yeah, sorry.
I just, you got your first drones in memory of Commissioner Johnson, is that correct? From the Upsall Lions, or?
He asked us if there was a need for it, and he wanted to help us out, and I think he may have helped County out initially too, but, told us to do some research, figure out what it was gonna cost, and, between a lot of the smaller organizations that he had his hands in, they came up with the funding. Of course, at that time, it was one drone, and here we are now with 4 drones. Absolutely.
And it wasn't too long after you got them that you found that person in the snow up
Yeah.
by Camp Ripley there.
Correct.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And another thing you guys do that, you know, a lot of people don't know is you help our Public Works Department with our public ditches.
Yep.
And the man hours that saves.
Yeah, they would have to send somebody physically on foot in a vehicle to check their drainage ditches and other things. Where we can just launch a drone and get it done in a matter of minutes/hours.
No, that's great. We appreciate you guys collaborating like that with them.
Gentlemen, anything else for the sheriff's department? Again, great presentation, guys, I appreciate
Yeah.
that, it's good knowledge, and, hopefully they continue working out for you, everyone here, and that we can
One
continue.
more thing,
Go
Mr.
right
Chair,
ahead,
if it's
Sheriff.
okay.
Yep.
I just wanted these guys to give an update on investigations, and we talked about the newer technology. And because of the newer technology, we have to present our cases to the county attorney's office where, you know, they're not gonna charge something unless they have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And, you know, and at the end of the day, that means that we have to be very thorough and make sure if we're doing search warrants on phones or any other technology, that we are doing the search warrants, and then we're extracting everything, and then we're going through the data. And some of the data, when I'm getting updates from our sergeants and investigators, it's thousands and thousands of pages and thousands of data that they have to analyze and go through. So just wanted to let these guys kind of talk about it and at least make you aware of it at this point, and be real short and brief.
Go right ahead.
Awesome.
So, I'll start here, but, so yeah, like the sheriff said, investigations have changed since I've started, and in the last 5 years, it's gone completely digital. So 90% of our investigations now rely on digital evidence. So everybody's walking around with a little mini computer that tracks them everywhere they go, which is great for us, but it's a lot of work. So we're doing warrants for cell phones, I don't know, probably weekly now, because basically every criminal's got a cell phone in their pocket. Every crime involves a cell phone, either they're documenting or talking to their friends about it. And that comes with a lot of data. So these phones hold incredible amounts of data, sometimes 100 gigs worth of data, which, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a lot. It's a ton, and it takes man-hours to go through that. Doug Rexted, investigator Doug Rexted usually does our phone downloads. I got a couple case examples here. So we had a recent burglary in rural Hillman. That's an ongoing case. I can't talk about specific details, but there's a game camera photo of our suspect breaking into a building. So we had a good date and time, which is kind of critical. So I authored a warrant for a geofence, which is basically a geographic area around that property. Google had a hit in that property at the time, so I have to author a second stage 2 warrant to Google, and they expand on that and give me times before the burglary and times after the burglary where that device went. And I can kind of determine if that fits the crime or not. It did in this case. So I author a third search warrant to get the identification of the owner of the device, which we did. We ended up doing a search warrant at his house, recovered some of the stolen property. And then follow up on that was we take his phone, we do another search warrant on his phone, and we get all the data from that, which shows him talking to his buddies about selling stolen stuff and drugs and the whole 9 yards. So as you can imagine, this takes an incredible amount of time, and somebody has to go through these warrants. So what we get is an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF spreadsheet from Google or Facebook or wherever. It just takes time. I mean, usually it's a day or two just to go through the data, and we have to put it into a format that the county attorney can read and understand and say, okay, yeah, it proves that this guy was at the house or he was selling the stolen stuff.
How many pages was that one, like 14,000?
Yeah, so I recently did one on a very serious crime. Again, it's still kind of in the works, I can't talk about it, but I did a warrant for Facebook Messenger. A lot of these criminals use Facebook Messenger to talk. They don't use text for whatever reason, because Facebook Messenger is free. On the one person, they had 36,000 pages on a PDF document of Facebook Messenger messages back and forth to people. So, and then the other one was like 15,000 on the other guy. It takes a lot of time to go through that. So obviously we can do keyword searches, but it takes hours. You put in one keyword and it runs for hours trying to find that keyword in the thing, and then we do it again. So it just takes time. Another good example, one of our deputies did a traffic stop, got a large amount of fentanyl and a stolen gun in the car. Of course, the 2 occupants deny it. Not mine, not mine. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not mine. So we do all the things, take DNA from the stuff, try to get fingerprints off of the stuff. It actually comes back with some stuff, which is good. But we also did downloads of their phones. So somebody has to go through those phones and the photos and the text messages. So we had some guy for like several days going through that, and eventually they were able to find pictures of one of the guys holding the gun up in the air. That's pretty good evidence that it belongs to you. And we also found them with pictures of the drugs. So we're able to put these cases together. It just takes an incredible amount of time, where 5 years ago, I can't, we just didn't do it 5 years ago. 20 years ago when I started, 23 years ago, investigators would go interview people, collect evidence, and that's about their job, and now it's completely different. So I know a lot of jurisdictions, even some kind of locally here, Crow Wing County, have civilian investigative analysts that help do some of that stuff, which I think would be super helpful.
So yeah, I've been reaching out to IT director as well, just saying, hey, is there any assistance we can get from you guys, since this is kind of technology based, and maybe save some hours on our staff. So anyway, we just wanted to give you a rundown, so this isn't a shock in the future you hear something, but we're trying to navigate through this and work with our resources that are available to help these guys so they can keep going on the current crimes that keep coming in, so.
So gentlemen, when you have these drones, would you carry them in your car? Or, so again, like you operate them and all that stuff, so is that, is just like a dog, canine, whatever, is that what you do with these?
Yep, they're the cases, as you can see, you know,
Okay.
they're vehicle safe, and they're padded, so take them home, leave, you know, in the winter, of course, you gotta bring them in your house at night.
Sure,
but-
yeah.
But, keep the batteries charged, and it's always ready to go
Okay.
at any time.
When will the drone presentation be at the fair? It's Thursday evening, correct?
5:30 Thursday.
You can make it, okay, a drone presentation, 5:30 Thursday at Morrison County Fair. And then we have a canine presentation, I believe that's.
Saturday at 2.
Saturday.
2, I believe.
At 2 o'clock, so.
Gentlemen, any more discussion, questions?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I just have one question, thank you. When we talk about 15,000 pages of anything, we're obviously talking about a lot of pages. Per page, are we talking about just a couple characters on that page, or a couple sentences, if you will? Or are we talking about a full page printed out, so to speak?
Encyclopedia page.
Yeah,
It's maybe not as full of as an encyclopedia page, but it's like a text message. you
Okay,
know, looking
okay.
at a thread, it's just
and
constant.
it fills up the piece of
Yes.
paper, then it's another, okay, thank you, that's what I was curious about.
And obviously, we don't print that out because
Yeah.
we would fry our printer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kill a lot of trees.
With 15 to 16,000 pages, it's like, when do these guys have time to steal anything?
It's incredible.
Well, again, gentlemen, it's a great presentation, good information that you gave us, so again, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
What you guys do.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe out there, gentlemen.
Patiently there, Land Services.
Good morning, Miss Amy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have one item for you today, and that is to consider the interim use permit request to expand an existing auto repair business. This would be specifically with a 20 by 50 addition. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 4 conditions. And those conditions are: 1, abide by all applicable state and local laws regarding automotive repair and proper disposal of fluids and wastes. 2, maintain records of disposal of automotive fluids and wastes and provide for review of records at the request of the Land Services Department. 3, no outdoor storage of vehicles or vehicle components except for the vehicles on site for service shall be located on the property. And 4, the interim use permit shall terminate when the current property owner, Robert Munson, ceases to own the property.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion.
I'd make that motion.
Is that with the 4 conditions?
Yes, that's correct.
And I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, that's all I've got, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Have a great day.
Matt, do you have anything for us this morning?
Mr. Chair, I've got 2 items briefly mentioned by our sheriff, but county fair this week. Feel free to come out and visit the county staff and our setup and our display. We'll have the command vehicle out there for the sheriff's office. We'll also have a public works truck out there and some members of our staff beginning Thursday just before noon, and we'll be out there till we close it down on Saturday. And as mentioned, the drone demonstration, 5:30 on Thursday, and K-9 demonstration, 2 o'clock on Saturday. And all that information can be found on our county Facebook site, and we'll push updates if we're impacted by weather. My second item is that next week, June 25th, a week from today, Morrison County is going to host the Chamber of Commerce's legislative update. Our state representatives have been invited. This is a chamber event. PERVA's reaching out to them, but in the past, the last couple of years, or maybe longer, they've given that update from the City Hall in Little Falls for a number of reasons, but one of them is just the change of venue. They'll host that now here at the county boardroom next week, June 25th, at 10 o'clock or at the conclusion of the planning session, whichever is later. But that'll be a week from today. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, gentlemen, anything at this time? Otherwise, we'll go into our committee reports. What dates do we have?
June 23rd
23rd,
through July 13th.
the 13th. Commissioner Jelinski, I seen you this morning out there getting your schedule ready, so what do you, can you start us off, please?
Absolutely, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 25th of June, on Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning, we've got a planning meeting scheduled here at the boardroom. At 6 o'clock in the evening, as always, there's PCBOA. However, there is no planning commission on the 25th. And as we just heard from Matt, at 10 o'clock in the morning and/or thereabouts after the planning meeting, there's a legislative update that'll be held here in the boardroom. On the 27th, 12:30 in the afternoon, I have a State Emergency Communications Board meeting that is virtual. Those interested, on the 28th, 29th, and I believe on the 30th is Midsummer Carnival in Swanville. Nobody cares about going to the dentist on July 1st except me. On Thursday, July 4th at 10 o'clock in the morning, State Emergency Communications Board is scheduled to meet, the Legislative Committee, scheduled to have a virtual meeting. It's the 4th of July. I'm quite confident that's canceled. And we go to the 13th. At 9 o'clock in the morning on July 9th, County Board will meet here in the boardroom at 9 o'clock. On the 10th of July, I believe at 8:30 in the morning, there's a department head meeting here in the boardroom. On the 11th, Thursday the 11th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got a Next Gen 911 meeting, and that's a virtual meeting. On the 12th of July at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Regional Advisory Committee, or RAC meeting. That is also held virtually. Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Commissioner Capster, what you have for us?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, could I get those dates again, please?
The 23rd of June to the 13th of July.
Okay, very good. So on the 27th, Thursday, I've got a 16:30 or a 4:30 meeting at Rum River Watershed, Malacca, Minnesota Courthouse. And then the 28th, Mississippi Headwater Board, Walker. That's a Friday at 9 o'clock. And I believe that covers me.
All right, Commissioner Blaine.
On the 27th of June, at 6 PM, Region 5, Commission meeting at Sourcewell and Staples. I have to ask, excuse me, sorry, I have to ask, is the county board having a planning session on Tuesday, July 2nd? We are not?
There's not one scheduled, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just so make sure that we're all.
That would have been a board meeting anyway, but that's what was canceled.
But the
We still
9th,
have two board meetings in July.
yes, the board meets on the 9th for a board meeting.
First one, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Blaine, Commissioner Lemire.
26th, HRA, 9 o'clock. The 8th, Yellow Ribbon, 3:30. That'd be about it.
Okay. Soil and Water on the 28th,
Is that 8 a.m.?
8 a.m., yep. And again, I believe T-SWAC will be canceled on a Friday, because that's supposed to be, so we will not be having that either at the beginning
Glad
of
you
the
said
month.
that, Mr. Chair.
Otherwise, yeah, I'm covered.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, I missed something. On Monday, July 1st, at 5:30, the Extension Committee meets.
You're right, and I seen that, and I didn't say it. Good.
So there's no T-SWAC on the 5th, or this month.
Yeah, so. And that's here at the courthouse, 5:30, right, the extension? Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why. I
Good catch.
overlooked
Oh, I
that.
said I
No,
should've
I'm
done
sorry,
that too,
I'm
so
sorry.
don't
No.
apologize. Anything else, gentlemen? Matt, do you have anything else?
I do not, Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I will share, even though maybe you guys had seen that in the email correspondence, that I got a phone call from Kathy Rutz last week while I was at strategic planning in St. Cloud, that EEI was able to secure a grant that Drew from our Public Works office had helped them with. That does not mean that, and I'm excited, had a great conversation with Kathy and staff there.
From where, Commissioner Blaine?
This grant came from, I believe, from the State Pollution Control Agency, from PCA. And it may have, and that grant may have come through Department of Ag. I should, I'm sorry, I don't have those
That's all right.
notes with me, but it is a state-funded grant, that they have a match that they have to provide. I believe the match is in that $14,000-15,000 range, somewhere in there.
Will that, Mr. Chair, will that fully fund the project that they're doing, or is this a?
This should fully fund the rolling totes issue that they had talked about. But I will share with you, through my conversation with Ms. Rutz, that this will not end the conversation that we have started with others from, I'll say Region 5 and Sourcewell, in looking at funding to help them update other equipment to gain some efficiencies and opportunities there. And so that discussion and work will continue. But I thought this was great news for them, and I went above and beyond and said that this board is not only happy for EEI, but we are there to help support them going into the future.
and like Commissioner Blaine brought up, this has been ongoing for quite some time. They've been trying to replace their totes, their roll-offs or whatever.
Yep.
Because I think they got the truck, right?
They have a updated truck. I had the opportunity to have a full tour of the operation a month or so ago when I met with Candace Zimmerman from Region 5 was with me, and we met with staff there at EEI. The amount of work that they do and the impact of that work that they do.
People employed, that they employ.
Plus the number of
Dignity.
people employed is tremendous, and the relationships they've built with businesses in the community is also very, very stellar.
And everybody out in TV land or the paper, it used to be called the Morrison County DEC, so that's.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
wanna say thank you for your hard work and diligence on this.
Yeah.
This grant, I have no, I have no fingerprints on that. I just, I
then I
was
take it back.
supportive, but of that, that was work that was done by Drew. And I'll get his last name wrong, so don't press me on that, but from Public Works. He's done stellar work. That staff at EEI has done tremendous work. This is good. It's good for the county. It's good for the residents of the city of Little Falls. It's good for EEI, and I couldn't be happier for
Mr.
them.
Blaine, I appreciate the update. Any more, gentlemen? If not, it is 10:19. We're adjourned.